In the dark skies of 1941, a new predator emerged, the deadly Focke-Wulf Fw-190.
The heart of the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 was a 1,700 horsepower beast that breathed fire.
Raw power defined the Focke-Wulf Fw-190, a fighter built for pure combat speed.
Allied pilots called the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 the Butcher Bird for a terrifying reason.
Ahead of its time, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 featured the world's first mechanical brain.
Ahead of its time, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 featured the world's first mechanical brain.
A swarm of Focke-Wulf F-190s meant certain destruction for any bomber formation.
The Focke-Wulf Fw-190 could climb faster than anything the Allies could throw at it.
The sound of a Focke-Wulf Fw-190 approaching was the sound of inevitable danger.
As the sun set, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 remained the master of the twilight sky.
Rugged and reliable, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 fought in the harshest conditions on Earth. From the Eastern Front to the West, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 was everywhere.
The Focke-Wulf Fw-190 was a flying tank, designed to bring its pilot home alive.
In a high-speed dive, no Allied plane could catch the Focke-Wulf Fw-190.
The Focke-Wulf Fw-190 could land on rough fields where other fighters would crash.
Trust in your machine. The Focke-Wulf Fw-190 was the pilot's ultimate weapon.
The roll rate of the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 was legendary, snapping into turns instantly.
The HEV cannons of the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 tore enemy aircraft to shreds.
Flak was just a nuisance to the heavily armored Focke-Wulf Fw-190.
Even on the ground, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 looked fast and dangerous.
Every second, the Focke-Wulf F-190 spat out a storm of destruction.
Against heavy bombers, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 was the ultimate executioner.
Armed with rockets, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 broke bomber formations apart. The Focke-Wulf Fw-190 was a terror not just in the air, but also to ground targets.
Synchronized precision. The Focke-Wulf Fw-190 never missed a beat.
A fighter bomber without equal, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 delivered heavy payloads.
The Spitfire met its match when the Focke-Wulf F-190 arrived in the skies.
Low and fast, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 was a nightmare for anti-aircraft crews.
Target locked. The Focke-Wulf Fw-190 made every shot count.
The long-nozzle Focke-Wulf Fw-190 D9 took the fight to high altitudes. The Focke-Wulf Fw-190 pushed the limits of engine performance every single flight.
You could shoot it, but you couldn't easily stop a Focke-Wulf Fw-190.
Aerodynamic perfection allowed the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 to dance in the sky. Surprise was a key tactic of the lethal Focke-Wulf Fw-190 pilots.
Another mission survived. The Focke-Wulf Fw-190 brought its pilot home.
Versatile and deadly, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 could even threaten ships at sea.
Through
the gun sight of a Focke-Wulf W190. Enemy pilots saw their end.
Mustang versus Focke-Wulf Fw 190. A clash of titans in the clouds.
Weather was no barrier for the all-weather capability of the Focke-Wulf Fw 190.
The silhouette of a rolling Focke-Wulf Fw 190 was a symbol of Luftwaffe power.
From the ice of Russia to the sands of Africa, the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 ruled.
Clean aerodynamics gave the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 its incredible speed advantage.
The Focke-Wulf Fw 190 was one of the few planes fast enough to catch a mosquito.
Compact and aggressive, the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 was designed for one thing: war.
The Jabo ground attack version of the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 struck fear into tank crews.
Combat was chaotic, but the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 was a steady platform.
In the hands of an ace, the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 defied the laws of gravity.
German engineering excellence was stamped into every rivet of the Focke-Wulf Fw 190.
The Focke-Wulf Fw 190 could vanish as quickly as it attacked.
Coordination and power made the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 squadron a deadly force.
Silent and deadly, the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 hunted under the cover of night.
Tough as nails, the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 could survive impacts that destroyed others. With the throttle wide open, the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 unleashed its full fury.
The Focke-Wulf Fw 190 D9 became the guardian of the first jet fighters.
Precision bombing was just another skill in the Focke-Wulf Fw 190's arsenal. Only a skilled pilot could tame the wild power of the Focke-Wulf Fw 190.
The cooling fan was a unique feature that kept the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 engine alive.
Discipline and formation flying made the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 units effective.
No target was too high or too fast for the upgraded Focke-Wulf Fw 190.
Sometimes, one Focke-Wulf Fw 190 was enough to change the course of a battle.
Winter camouflage hid the Focke-Wulf Fw 190, but its guns were always ready.
Situational awareness in a Focke-Wulf Fw 190 meant the difference between life and death.
The symbol on the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 was feared across the entire continent.
Combat flaps allowed the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 to turn inside its opponents.
The Focke-Wulf Fw 190 was built to withstand immense G-forces.
Radio silence. The Focke-Wulf Fw 190 pilots communicated with deadly intent.
Turnaround times were fast. The Focke-Wulf Fw 190 was always ready for more.
The Focke-Wulf Fw 190 fought until the very last days of the war.
Battle scars only proved how tough the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 really was.
Vertical fighting was where the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 excelled.
On the Eastern Front, the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 was the supreme hunter.
Flying through fire and debris, the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 pressed the attack. The ultimate evolution, the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 TA-152 kissed the edge of space.
Firepower was the language the Focke-Wulf Fw 190 spoke fluently.
Arrogance and skill mixed in the cockpit of a Focke-Wulf Fw-190.
Ambush Predator. The Focke-Wulf Fw-190 waited for the perfect moment.
As they climbed higher, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 became a life support system.
Speed had a price, but the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 was willing to pay it.
A machine of war, now a silent legend. The Focke-Wulf Fw-190.
History comes alive when we look at the Focke-Wulf Fw-190.
Gravity was just a suggestion to the Focke-Wulf Fw-190.
Hearing the call of battle, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 answered every time. Defending the skies until the end, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 never gave up. Today, we marvel at the engineering genius of the Focke-Wulf Fw-190.
Like fireworks of death, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 lit up the dark.
Each Focke-Wulf Fw-190 had a personality, reflected by its pilot.
Strike and vanish. The tactic of the Focke-Wulf Fw-190.
Full power! The Focke-Wulf Fw-190 unleashed its horses.
Beauty and the beast combined in the form of the Focke-Wulf Fw-190.
Precision handling made the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 a joy to fly.
The heart of the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 was complex, yet brilliant. Blinded by the sun, the Spitfire couldn't see the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 coming.
The war ended, but the story of the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 lived on. Aerodynamically, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 was a marvel of the 1940s.
Together with the Bf-109, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 defended the skies.
The hunter's eyes. The Focke-Wulf Fw-190 demanded total focus. It felt like the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 could outrun sound itself. From blueprint to legend, the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 changed aviation history.
The Focke-Wulf Fw-190, the butcher bird that will never be forgotten.